Today's conversation is sponsored by the Billy Keels Advisory Program. If you want to learn more about how to make your 9 to 5 optional, just go to billykeels.com/advising. Once again, that's billykeels.com/advising. How to overcome struggles when changing social class. This is a classic. So many times I chat with people on LinkedIn specifically, DMs, get on a phone call, and inevitably this thing comes up. And I don't know if that's because it's something that I've talked about a lot before or something that I've shared, but like how to overcome common struggles when changing social class is something that is very prevalent in the conversations that I'm having through LinkedIn. And so I thought I would share it here also too, because like if I'm having this conversation more than once and it's something that I've lived through myself, then I definitely want to share it with you, because as you are thinking about who you are, where you're going, it's really important to remember where you come from. This is one of the things that I live with every single day, right? Because when you are born into a social class, let's say, right, and I'm in the US and been very open about that. I come from a very working class family. I would say some would say middle class, lower middle class. I always looked around and like the kids that I went to high school with, like they all had this stuff, or at least it appeared to me. And sometimes mom was working. Most of the time, mom wasn't working. Dad was working, and it was like wow. And I watched my parents work 2 jobs, each one of them, and things were, we were able to live in the right neighborhoods, but I saw what they had to do to do that, and so I recognized the amount of work and sacrifice that my parents made to be able to put us in quote unquote the right schools. So, and it's one of the things that I constantly look at today, and I have conversations about this. And so I want to bring it to you here, because if I'm having conversations about it, I lived through it. I know that I'm not alone, and I want you to make sure that you are not alone, that you don't feel alone. And just because you let's say you left a certain social class, it doesn't mean that you've ever left that social class. You know what I mean? I would do a proverbial wink if you could see me, but I think if you've heard this, you're listening to it, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because whether or not you have all the degrees, the certifications, the accolades, depending on where you come from, you never forget where you come from, nor should you ever. And there's something much more important than just being able to um, benefit from the sacrifices that others have made. It's also recognizing that there is a certain responsibility. I know you felt it. I felt it most of my life, still feel it to this day. And it's one of these things that I just want to be able to talk about here on the Go Along podcast. Because one of the things that happens as you, especially when you watch those around you make so many sacrifices, work sometimes 1, 2 jobs, or making the different types of sacrifices to help you in the position, but you in the position where you are today, usually because you had access to better schools or a safer environment or all of the above, you start to recognize like, hey, I know that I got to a certain point where I was like, hey, I just want to have enough money to be able to live well into my retirement age. Like that's was the big thing. Cause I just like, I want to have more money, more money, more money, more money, more money. I guess what I've also realized is that it's not just about the money, it's the ability to be able to provide, and to be able to provide in a comfortable manner in the event someone asks you for something, right? And this is also maybe going to go into a little bit about how you set boundaries, because eventually sometimes there may be people that want to take advantage of that. But I want to get back to the point of how to overcome the common struggles when changing social class, right? So I'll use myself as an example, working class to moving to a middle class or upper middle class. I'm going to say upper class, but I don't think so. But maybe I'll go and look up the definition, because definitions help to set standards. But anyway, I want to come back to this topic, because when you realize that you like now you've gone beyond being younger, you've gotten into the right college because that's the path that you've taken. You have degrees, or maybe you're like me, you have multiple degrees. You've done all the right things, and as you continue to move up, you become healthier, wealthier, and from a financial perspective. And you want to remember, and you do remember every day, sacrifice from your parents, from your grandparents, aunts, uncles, people that have helped you to be in the position because they've given you the support, whether it be financial, social, life support, mental, physical support. And you are now in a position where you recognize, hey, listen, it's time to be able to give back because now you're bigger, faster, stronger, sort of speak. And you're the person who is also the reliable one. You are the one that anybody and everybody can now go to. They've helped get you to a certain point, and now you're there. You are someone who is able to extend not or provide not just for your own family, but for your extended family now, right? You're starting to feel what I'm talking about. So you've gone from the person who was protected, who received the sacrifice, received the benefits of the sacrifice that your parents and your grandparents made for you. And now you're in a position to be able to give back. You're the reliable one, you're the provider, and you're moving on. And those, everyone looks around you and looks at you and says, wow, you know what? You are now the standard. And so it's even one of the things that I talked about, I think in a recent episode, I think it was episode um maybe it was somewhat 445, but it was when I talked about disconnect from work. But you feel this sense of responsibility, right? But anyway, let me not digress too much. It happens easily, as you know. Um, but because you start to feel that this is the sense of it's your moment to be able to give back, you're the responsible one, you're the provider. Like most times, you can also get inundated with requests and needs for help. So sometimes you need to sit down and just create your plan. Like, what are you going to be able to do? Uh, do are you going to continue to do the work? Or you're going to move to be able to get the job, to have more status symbols, all of these things? Because the more that you dedicate to working, the more that you're also going to attract more requests. But the thing is, you're going to get to a point where, yeah, I mean, you're the reliable one. People are going to come to you not just for financial requests, but also, hey, listen, I want to make a life decision. Can I get some of your time? Can I pick your brain? Can I get a half an hour? Can we send my cousin, my niece, my nephew to talk to you about this and that? And what I want you to realize is that it may be helping to help someone to pay a bill, or it may be extra advice for your niece or nephew. It could be even, sometimes and it's happened. Like you've got to help other family members. You pitching in money into helping to pay for a funeral, right? I know that that's happened to me. So it's all of these different things. And as you start to want to continue to excel at home, you want to continue to excel at work, you want to continue to be there for everybody in the extended family, it can be a struggle because you may get to a point where you feel like, wow, hang on a second. Well, why is everybody coming to me? Why can't somebody come to somebody else or go to somebody else? But what I'm here to tell you or share with you is that first and foremost, been there, done that. So I feel like I said, I talk to people about this constantly because this is something that comes up. I didn't realize it was a thing, but I knew that I was going through it. And now that I talk to people a lot on that come through LinkedIn, as I mentioned to you before, or maybe people you want to talk about this through the podcast, like there's a way for us to be able to talk about it. You're not alone. Um, yes, your bank account may be overflowing. At the same time, maybe the thing that's the most important that you're still on the search for or in search for or in search of is how do you protect your time? Because at the end of the day, that's what causes the stress because you don't have enough time. You want to be able to help more people, especially when it's your family or close friends. But when you don't feel like you have control over your time, that's the thing that starts to really create the struggle. That's the thing that starts to create this sense of unease because you want to do more. You just don't have the time to do more. And a lot of that is because you're still strapped to your job and your job is a part of your identity. You have allowed that to be a major part of your identity. Like I said, been there, done that. So I'm not just speaking out of nothing. I've been there, done that. Here's the thing that I want you to remember. Whether your bank account is overflowing, whether you are starting to recognize that there are other people that have been there, done that, there are things that you can do, some of which I've started to share with you already. But most importantly, what I want you to also recognize is that once you're able to control more of your time, one day you may need help, right? You've always been the reliable one, don't forget, but you were protected, you were sheltered early on that allowed you to get to a point where now you can help others. And although you've moved into another social class, you've never forgotten where you came from, which is phenomenal. And never forget that you may also need help one day. And as you're continuing to help, remember it's a privilege to be able to help others. It's absolutely a privilege. To be able to receive the recognition from others is also a privilege, and it should be perceived as a joy, not a burden. And there will be times when you have to protect your boundaries. And there will be times when you will have to say no, because it's like being on an airplane. You can't be at the detriment of yourself, because if you don't put on your own face mask first, you can't save anybody else. And so in order to save yourself to be able to help others on another day, you will have to learn to also draw the boundaries and know when you can and when it's best for you not to help, because you may need to help on another day. And I share that with you only to say that you're never going to forget where you came from, because that's where you came from. There's also a group who has gone through a very similar trajectory as you have. You started lower middle class or working class, and you've moved up, and now you're upper class. Maybe you've created this amazing business and you're even into the mega upper class, if you can say that. Obviously, I'm not there yet, so I don't know how you actually even say it. But anyway, I want you to remember you're not alone. And so understanding how to overcome these struggles when changing social class, it's part of it. Recognizing when you're not alone, there are others that have been there, walked a similar path. Recognizing, because there's others that have been there, done that, that you have a group of people that you can reach out to, you can talk to. As I mentioned before, I've talked to people all the time on LinkedIn. This is another way now. Hopefully we're able to talk through the podcast. And if you have things that you want to talk about, if you've been through a similar kind of experience, I'm always open to learning, open to sharing. But remember, it's a privilege to have this recognition, and it is a joy, not a burden, to be recognized as someone in your immediate entourage or family members that is someone who is perceived as someone who can help others. So be that provider. While you're here, even if you know of somebody who's going through this similar kind of a struggle, share the episode with them today. Talk about it. Let them know they're not alone. You can even share you're the person that's bringing this new insight to them. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be working on more episodes. I'm going to be working on another episode. So until then, I want you to go out make it a great day. And I want to thank you very, very much. Today's conversation was sponsored by the Billy Keels Advisory Program. If you're looking to make your 9-to-5 optional and need some help, just go to billykeels.com/advising. Once again, that's billykeels.com/advising.